right, you ready?
Let's go.
Why am I going there? What is up, everybody, and welcome to Roughing the Passer, Week 16 in the NFL. As always, my name is Drew, and with me is Mr. Newman. What's up, man?
I'm angry today.
Why? Why are you angry?
I watched my Steelers look like dog shit.
Yeah, well, hey, I watched my Panthers look like dog shit. So, I mean, at least we have something in common to start off the show.
Yeah,
I mean, Jesus, dude.
Well, we're both going to be not in the playoffs at this rate either, too.
Yeah, at least I already knew that coming into Sunday. You guys, I mean, I don't think, are you technically eliminated?
Yeah.
Could a bunch of ridiculous stuff still happen that you
No. We still got a shot. We still got a shot, but let's be real. And listen, I want to get in, even if it's for a cameo appearance. But
right.
I mean, let's be real. Even if they get in, they're probably going to be one and done. But that's the beauty. This of football. Drew, is if you get in, you never know what could happen. A couple turnovers, a lucky bounce, a break, a bad call by a referee.
Well, that's something I want to talk about today. Is there's a couple of teams that I think are going to get into the postseason, which we'll get to a little later. That, like you just said, if you get in and they get in, watch out. Even if you have them at home, I mean, it doesn't matter. A lot of stuff changes in the playoffs, and experience becomes quite a big factor. So it's going to be really interesting to see. But we'll start off today, by going down some of the scores. Obviously, the Falcons beat the Jaguars 24-12 in another dominant game by the Ravens, although maybe marred by injury. I haven't heard about their running back, can't forget his name now, who got hurt. But they beat the Browns 31-15. The Saints beat the Titans 38-28. Panthers got destroyed by the Colts 38-6. Dolphins beat the Bengals in a battle of two really bad teams, 38-35. Ryan Pat's in the Super Bowl. Yeah, okay. That game was ridiculous, 38-35.
Well, we talked about this Thursday. Yeah. You hit it on the head. High scoring game, not a lot of defense, and my Devontae Parker DFS pick looked good today.
Looked great. A lot better than mine, which I'll talk about a little later. But yeah, a lot better than mine. But yeah, that was the Parker looked good, but the Bengals locked up the number one pick. At least they put up 35 points losing, so you can't really say they tanked. I mean, they looked like they tried. They just didn't play any defense, but the Bengals did lock up the number one overall pick. Then the game you probably don't want to get to, the Jets took down the Steelers 16-10. The Giants beat the Redskins 41-35 in a shootout. The Raiders, Chargers 24-17. Eagles, Cowboys 17-9. Cardinals, Seahawks 27-13. And Saturday we had the Texans 23-20 over the Bucks, the Pats 24-17 over the Bills, and the 49ers over the Rams 34-31. So, John, I wanted to start off today's show because on the show on Thursday, you had Dwayne Haskins as somebody to watch. And I want to talk about this because I'm watching this game and you absolutely nailed this. I wish I had time before I'd gotten off of work and coming onto the show to be able to take the clip of what you said, because you said it was going to turn into a big shootout between Haskins and Jones. And before Haskins went down, both of these quarterbacks looked absolutely incredible. Haskins looked great. Jones looked great the whole game, but Haskins looked amazing, I thought, before he went down. You called it even with McLaurin getting in early. I mean, it was dead on what you had said. But when you look at these two guys now, obviously the game meant very little. They all have a bunch of problems. But with Haskins and Jones, what do you see as their future in the NFL?
Well, you got to look at today's game as sort of the exception rather than rule. You got two bad teams playing against each other. So me or you could have been on each of these teams and probably looked halfway like
Okay.
a quarterback today. So I mean, anytime you play well in the NFL, it's a good sign. I'm not trying to take anything away from these guys.
Right.
But the opponent has a lot to do with that. But I think today shows you in both of these cases what they're potentially capable of. I mean, Daniel Jones threw for 5 touchdowns today. Obviously, he's not going to throw for 5 touchdowns every week.
Right.
I mean, to me, his big issue is turnovers, fumbling, and picks. If he can work in the off season on accuracy and ball handling, he can be a good quarterback. And the guy the Giants took with the 6th pick. Haskins' problem is accuracy right now. And so if he obviously can work on that, and the potential there for both of these guys, and I think that's what today kind of showed, is that they're there. I mean, if they play bad today, I think you could take more away from them playing bad today than them playing good today. And so the fact they played good today just bodes better. If any of these two guys stunk it up today, then that's a real scary sign. And so that didn't happen. So they have something to build on with both of these guys there.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I have a little more faith in Haskins than I do in Jones, honestly, and I know a lot of people probably have the reverse opinion. But I guess that has a little bit more to do with I have a little bit more faith in the Redskins coaching than I do in the Giants right now, just their organization as a whole. I think they're building something decent there in Washington. I don't think they're as far away as people think. And New York, they've got some pieces. I don't know how happy Saquon's going to be there for a long term, though. And he actually started to look good today. I don't know. I don't know what New York is right now. And I think Washington has kind of found an identity and is trying to build towards it. But I feel like New York just is kind of in a state that they don't really know. They want to put all this on Jones, but I don't know if he's ready for it. I don't know. It feels really off to me.
Well, it's too late to put the genie back in the bottle, as they say. I think this is Daniel Jones' show now. I think Eli's going to be either retired or wearing a different jersey. I don't think he's done yet. So I think he's wearing a different jersey. And they're going to have a new I'm pretty sure they're going to have a new head coach roaming the sidelines next year. It's not going to be.
So you don't think Eli is done? You really think he's going to go play somewhere else next year?
Yeah, he might be in your town.
Wow. God, no. Shut, stop. Never mind. Forget I asked the question. We're moving on. Hey, on to the next guy. No, please. God, that scares me. No.
He's good. I'd be shocked. Let me put it this way. I'm not saying I was just being funny there, but
yeah. Jesus,
he's gonna be. He's gonna be. I tell you right now. I was talking to my son and watching the Steeler game today. We need, assuming Ben's healthy next year, we need a veteran quarterback backup. Now I don't know if Eli's gonna want it. I think Eli still wants to start, so he's gonna wind up somewhere for a year, 2 years if he has a good 1 year as a starter. I'm not sure where. That's a great question. Is if he plays, where does he wind up, and who gives him a starting job?
Oh Lord, I don't know. Is anybody that I'm looking at all these games right here and all these teams, and I don't see one that would be desperate enough to do that. Maybe the Jaguars. I think he's done.
Yeah, I'd say the Jaguars more if Coughlin. It was still there.
Yeah. If Coughlin was there, I could easily see it. But probably
now
not
that he's gone, I don't see it. Well, I mean, I'm thinking maybe Chicago, but they probably want to go younger with someone like Bridgewater or even Nick Foles. I mean, there's going to be 4 to 5 quarterbacks playing musical starters.
Yeah,
Cam Newton's going to be wearing different colors.
Maybe.
Yeah,
we'll get to that. But yeah, it's interesting. I want to see what happens with Eli. I didn't think that there was a consensus among anyone that he would play past this year. I just don't see it.
I think, Drew, if he wasn't, he'd be saying more about it. Like, I wanted to, he'd kind of be.
Yeah, he has been quiet. He's been quiet.
You'd be hearing him like thank people, almost like saying goodbyes.
But see, I kind of took that as him not doing that because wanting to let Daniel Jones ease the pressure off of him a little bit. Because if Eli's there in front of the camera every week doing that stuff and saying all of this and making a big deal about it, and if the media is making a big deal about it and Daniel Jones is playing, and if he plays poorly, they're going to be on him like crazy to get Eli back out there. You can't do this. It's horrible for Eli, blah, blah, blah. And so I kind of saw it as Eli just not wanting to put all that attention on a young rookie who's clearly way in over his head when he started the year. But I mean, yeah, you make a good point. Maybe he does want that, and he's kind of like, whatever, I'll take a back seat, but I'm going to get it somewhere sooner than later.
Yeah. I'm going to make a prediction. I just thought of something.
Okay.
Just a gut instinct.
Yeah.
We can come back here whenever it happens or doesn't happen and say I was right on or I wasn't right on.
Sounds good to
me. I see him going to Miami for a year.
Okay.
I think Miami's going to draft a quarterback, someone like Justin Herbert out of Oregon. Mm-hmm. And they might sign Manning and say, listen, we're not going to start Herbert, even if he looks great in spring preseason and in practice. This is your job, bar an injury.
Right.
We want you to teach Herbert the ropes, the NFL way. Teach him how to be an NFL quarterback. This is your job guaranteed for a year.
Right.
No ifs, ands, or buts, except if you go down with an injury and you can't play. You could throw 4 interceptions, and we're starting you the next week.
I could see it. I can easily see him in Miami. That's actually a team, I didn't really consider until you just said it, but Miami could make sense because I don't think Miami is in a position where they think they're going to be able to solve anything in any immediate future. They're going obviously massive full rebuild.
Yeah, I think I think they're going to pick a quarterback with their first pick. I think Joe Burrow goes to the Bengals at 1.
If the Bengals don't take Joe Burrow, then whoever is in charge of the Bengals needs to be just taken out and shot. Like, there's no better fit for Joe Burrow than Cincinnati.
A lot of people still on the 2, and I think he's good. What scares me with him is just the injuries are starting to accumulate. There's some, I hate to say it like he's a running back, but there's starting to be a tread on the tire. But that could be who Miami takes if Cincinnati goes Burrow. Miami takes Tua, signs Manning, and says, "Listen, Tua's still probably recovering from surgery. It's your job for the year. Groom Tua. Let's be real. You're on the tail end of your career, but we're going to give you a whole year as a starter, guaranteed. Get Tua ready. Past the year, we're not guaranteeing you anything past that." But how many teams are going to do that and groom Tua to be our next starting quarterback? And you go out, maybe he agrees to that and just says, this is my last year. I'm going to finish it off in Miami and help a young quarterback get ready to take that next step. And that'll be my role. And I'm looking forward to it. And then I'm looking forward to life after football. And it'll be a good sort of a good 1 year goodbye tour wherever he games on the road. People can pay their respects. Obviously, in Miami, even though he won't have a long track record there. And so that's my prediction. I see Eli in Miami grooming whoever the quarterback they take in this draft to not play. Again, that's just a wild guess.
Hey, I like it though. It's interesting, and it does actually make sense. But in that game we were talking about just now, Dolphins and Bengals, like you said, your Devontae Parker pick was all over the money, dead on.
Yeah.
But we mentioned it just a second ago with Joe Burrow. Since he's locked in to number one, it's set in stone now. Nothing's going to change it. So I mentioned it earlier. They have to go with him. I mean, I've heard from a lot. I don't think you can take Tua with that injury. I just don't think you can take him at one. But if it's any other team besides Cincy, I would say maybe. Maybe they would do it.
There are some people that Tua's still their number one pick. There's some scouts I was reading the other day that if it was their pick to take at one, they're still going Tua, even with the incredible year Burrow had.
It's not just incredible. I don't watch much college football, but one of the person I work with, Chris Gilmore, does. He sold me on Burrow at the last 2 weeks at work, and I've been reading up his stats and finally watching this kid a little bit. And you have to, but the fact that he was born in Iowa, he grew up there, he went to Ohio State originally. I mean, he's perfect for Cincy, and their offense is built. I mean, let's face it, he is just. He can plug into an Andy Dalton, a team that's built around Andy Dalton. He can plug into that right away. And you've got an offense there with Mixon. You've got pieces there around him. They're not that far away if you get a real good quarterback in there. I actually think this is a perfect spot for Burrow, and it's kind of a no-brainer that they have to take him at one. I mean, I think if you don't, this is one of the biggest misses that you could have in a long time.
Yeah, I like Joe Burrow. I've watched probably 4 or 5 LSU games this year. It's crazy what I'm about to say, and I don't mean it verbatim, but in watching these 4 to 5 games, he sort of reminds me. I feel funny of Tom Brady. He's got some it factors, and when I say that, I'm not saying he's going to win 6 Super Bowls and be an MVP.
No, you're on record. You're on record.
But he has some qualities. That's what I'll say. He has qualities of and it's funny. I said that in like week 3 of the college football season, and since then, and obviously I'm not on major airwaves, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here, but after I said it in my small realm, I've heard other bigger realm guys, guys who get paid to do this for a living, compare him to Tom Brady. So it's got to be something there. I said it in week 2 or 3. Not many people heard it or took anything from it. And then since then, some college football analysts have used the same comparison. So there's got to be something to it.
He's having one of the greatest seasons, if not the greatest season for a pocket passer. Exclude the Cam Newton, the Vince Young type of seasons by a quarterback. For a pure pocket passer, he is having one of the best seasons ever. So the comparisons are 100%. If you're forced to make those type of comparisons and you have to pick somebody, it would almost be insulting to not go after one of the best because he's having one of the best seasons. And so, I think the Brady comparison in that sense, makes a little bit of sense, but I never like putting that much pressure on somebody like that.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Not him, not the whole body of work, just some of the it factors, I guess I'll say.
No, I totally get it. All right, I guess we'll move on now to this awful game. The Saints obviously locked up the 2 seed by beating the Titans 38-28, and then the Colts absolutely shit whipped the Panthers 38-6. About the only fire Carolina showed in this game at all was damn Vernon Butler punching that dude in the head, but he didn't even take his helmet off, so it was just stupid. And then just got ejected for nothing. But I don't know if you got a chance to see much of this. It was obviously Will Greer's debut, and it went exactly how I thought it was going to go. Awful.
Yeah, I did. I didn't see the game. I saw the box score. What did he throw? Three picks.
Yeah. It was rough. I mean, they gave up 2 touchdowns from punt returns. I mean, you put 14 points on the board right there. Greer looked okay. He looked better than I thought he would. I'll give him that. He looked
him.
He looked like a serviceable backup. He looked like somebody that I would 100% take as a backup quarterback for the Panthers in a couple of years when he's nice and ready after a quarterback needs to go down in a year and a half or 2 years. But he's not. I don't see him as like the future quarterback of Carolina. I just don't. I didn't see anything there today to change my mind. He had some chance. That Indy defense is not that great. McCaffrey was all over the place. He was able to get the ball to McCaffrey, and that's it. And I don't know. It went exactly how I thought it was going to go.
I think it sounds like I like him a little more than you do.
Oh, I almost guarantee that.
But he's got time. He's young. Obviously, I think today showed more to your point. He's not ready to be a starter yet. But I don't. I know you didn't want him to get any starts this year.
I'm fine with it now.
I don't think today really. I mean, I'm not saying he played good, but it gets him a little experience. It gets him a taste.
No, the thing I'm happy. That's what I'm happy about is that at least he has an off season to go into where he's at least experienced it, so he knows what to actually study for. Because it's really hard for these kids to not. I mean, if you don't have any idea what you're studying for, and you have no idea what the experience is, which I'm guessing that's what it's like going into the NFL, playing against some of these ridiculously good defenses and these players. If you have no clue what the game speed's like or anything, it's kind of hard to study to get better at it. So if anything, if he gets the speed of the game, if he understands what that's going to be like to where he can go in and actually start to focus on, prepping for the right speed and everything, maybe that can help. That's about the only positive I can take out of all this for Will Grier. But it raises the bigger question of, does Cam stay in Carolina now? And that's, I'm kind of under the assumption that he's probably going to end up staying. I've been bouncing back and forth on it. And the reason I think he's going to stay is because I don't think we're going to get what we want for him. I would like us to move on from him, but I mean, it looks like we're looking for a second and something else. And I don't know if we're going to get that much for Cam.
Well, I tell you what, I'll take him in Pittsburgh right now.
Yeah. Oh, he would actually look really good in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That would be decent.
Yeah, a couple weeks back, there was actually some press print about it, but I don't know. They're up against the cap too, so I don't think they're going to be able to make that work. And then you got the whole thing if Roethlisberger comes back next year healthy, and so I think what Pittsburgh does is they go with a veteran backup who's
Eli.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're going to go with a veteran backup who's okay with being the backup. Wherever he goes, like he knows he's backing up Big Ben. I'm not coming in there to compete with Roethlisberger. I'll play if he goes down or he gets hurt. That sort of thing. So that's how I see that. So I don't know who that is. Maybe a Case Keenum type. Sort of deal, I think you got your guys like Nick Foles, Bridgewater, who are going somewhere to probably get the starting gig. I think you got guys like Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's a possibility. Yeah. Can you imagine Andy Dalton backing up Big Ben? Two former Pro Bowlers on the same team. Yeah. So,
and that could actually happen because Dalton's obviously gone. I don't think there's any way he stays in Cincy.
I think he's gone. See it happening. And then he can go to a division rival. He probably, in his mind, he says Big Ben goes down for at least a game or two every year, maybe more. Like this year, I can play, and maybe I'll get a shot against my former team with a better arsenal and beat them and put that feather in my cap. So.
We'll see what happens.
I take him in that role in a heartbeat. I honestly would.
Yeah, so. I would too. I think Andy Dalton's a lot better than playing in that offense in Cincy right now shows. And I think there was a lot of other problems that caused a lot of their struggles early. And Ryan Finley's obviously not the answer. I think we already know who the answer is there. But I want to move on now to and guys, by the way, I want to let you know the link is on the screen. If you guys do want to call in and join the show, simply click that thing right down there. And you can call in or video chat in with us as always. Let us know if you just want to brag about your team or whatever it is. Please call in. But, John, I wanted to get to one of the games that I know a lot of people watched and one that absolutely blew my mind and fucked up my picks like one game always does every single week. This week it was the Eagles beating the Cowboys 17-9. This was a game where obviously you heard – all the noise all week about Dak Prescott being hurt. Is he hurt? Is he not? But Dak kept reassuring everybody he was fine. He dealt with all this before. He ended up played pretty badly. I mean, he didn't play terribly, but it was a very defensive-oriented game and a very odd game. But this was a game that I thought the Cowboys as a whole, if you wanted to make that statement as like a team that's actually going to do something and a team that is, I don't know, prepared for anything, you've got to walk into this game and beat the crap out of the Eagles. You have to. You have to.
Well, just when you thought Jason Garrett might have saved his job, he went and threw it out the window.
Jason Garretted.
Again.
Yeah,
Jason Garretted his job away. So you got next week, you got the Eagles versus the Giants. If they hold serve, which I think they will.
If they play like they did today, they will.
Yep, they'll win the division. And, Dallas don't make the playoffs. And I think he's definitely, Jason Garrett's definitely gone without a playoff berth. I mean,
do you think he really goes? Do you think he goes?
Boy, man, I'm not good thing. I'll say this. I'll pretend I'll put my Dallas Cowboys hat on for a day and pretend I'm a fan. And if they don't make the playoffs and Jerry Jones keeps Jason Garrett as the head coach, I'm looking into this camera and I'm speaking to the Cowboy fans the real Cowboy fans. I'm just being a fake one right here. How do you stay a fan of that team?
Yeah.
Because basically your owner is saying he's not willing to do, he's going to pick friendship over success, potential success.
Feelings over success. Yep.
And to me, if my owner gets to that point, if the Steelers did that, I really would have to question, what do I do? It's very hard to give up your favorite team. I understand. All that. I don't expect Cowboy fans not to be Cowboy fans, but I would be upset to the ends of the earth. If I'm a Cowboy fan who buys season tickets, at that stadium,
that's what I was about to say.
I'll root from home, but I'm not going to give them my money.
I would that's the only way that he would learn. If he doesn't get rid of Jason Garrett, like you said, I would not be able to. I don't know how you could even justify it if you miss the playoffs without having Zeke and Dak go down for a significant amount of the season. There's absolutely zero excuse for it. And there is no reason for this. That team is actually talented, and I actually think Dak Prescott's a pretty damn good quarterback, and I think Zeke's a pretty damn good running back. And I think I like Michael Gallup. I think he's great. I like Cooper there. I think they have a great offense. They have some real good pieces on defense. This is 100% a coaching problem, and we're going to talk about a little later in our Goats and Game Balls segment. I'm going to talk a little bit more about coaching, but this is 1,000% about coaching. And Dallas, if they don't address it, then, and I'm talking completely overhaul this thing, then I don't know how you can actually believe in this team whatsoever.
Yeah, you watch national show, and let me I'm not a Jerry Jones expert, but if you know anything about Jerry Jones, he actually watches a lot of these other programs that are on these national NFL Network, ESPN, Fox, because he makes comments and alludes to them.
Yeah.
And all these shows, all these NFL shows are basically saying that Jason Garrett and that coaching staff is underwhelming. And that's the problem. So he's watching these shows, getting that feedback from them. The proof's in the pudding with the standings. He's probably getting it from his own staff in-house, like, we need a new coach, Jerry.
Right.
And so if he's hearing it from all these angles and still doesn't pull the trigger, what's that say? He might as well just make Jason Garrett the owner and GM too, because he doesn't have the ability to let someone go over feelings, over. So at that point, just name Jason Garrett head coach until I pass away. That's what his title should be. Head coach until Jerry dies. He's my head coach. He's my head coach till I die. And then Steven can do what he wants to do.
Oh Lord. Well, but I have a feeling if he can get Lincoln to go, which I think Lincoln Riley wants to go pro, I think he will, and I think he'll probably go to Dallas. If he can get Lincoln, I can see him easily letting Garrett go. If he has questions about Lincoln, which I think is going to have a lot to do with how his bowl games go, and if it's games or game, to whether he wants to stay and pursue more, or if he's happy, I don't know. But there's another question I got here, and it's with Dak now. He's got a lot with his contract, and what they decided not to do anything this year. They don't have much time left before they start talking about the dreaded F word, franchise. And so where does this go? Does Dak end up getting a new contract? Has he played well enough to show that he deserves one, or does Dak get franchised?
I think, you know what, Drew, I think this again is going to be if they get a new coach, when does this timetable happens?
Right.
If it's up to Jerry, I think Jerry probably franchises him or works a new deal. He ain't going to let Dak walk.
Right.
If they get a new coach in, he's going to have some say in that. Although something tells me whoever the new coach is, the deal. Is he going to be a Jerry puppet? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look here, Lincoln, this is how I run the ship. Now, you're the head coach, but I got the final say. So I got a feeling that's, I think Dak remains a Cowboy. He's either franchised or they work a new deal. I don't think Jerry lets him go. I think even if the new coach comes in, if it's a Lincoln Riley, and Lincoln Riley even says, hey, I want to go in a different direction, I think Jerry says, listen, you're the head coach, but I hired you. So we're keeping Dak. I work, make the best soup you can with the ingredients I give you. So that's how I don't see Dak wearing a different uniform. I just think it just depends. Is he paid a lot of money? Or is he paid a lot of money?
Yeah.
If he's franchised, he's going to make probably less than if they give him the contract. Well, not probably. He will make less than the contract he's asking for. So, and then that's a whole nother second question. If they franchise him, how is he going to respond to that?
Exactly.
Is he going to be disgruntled guy? I don't see this happening. He can do what Le'Veon Bell did in Pittsburgh and say, you franchise me. I'm not signing the thing.
A lot of these franchise tags until the next CBA is done, which I think a lot of the language in franchise tags is going to be changed and adjusted quite a bit, because it's gotten to be a really big, it's almost just a guaranteed handcuff and almost guaranteed disgruntled player. And I think there's going to be some issues with that. I do think they'll get a contract done with him. But it's going to be interesting to see, because if you had told me that Dallas was going to miss the playoffs with a healthy Dak and a healthy Zeke, I would have laughed. I didn't think they were Super Bowl contenders, but the NFC East was so terrible. I thought there was no way that they couldn't at least squeak out 9 wins. And this has been an absolutely shocking season to me for the Cowboys. And I came in with very little hope. But I wanted to move on now to one other thing. And it's something that you talked to before we get into Shit Whip of the Week and a new segment of ours. Well, a little revamped segment of ours. I wanted to touch on one other thing you said on Thursday, and that was in the Cardinals-Seahawks, which the Cardinals won 27-13. I did not see it coming, but on Thursday you actually said that you thought Kyler Murray would be a good idea to start in fantasy. He had a good game. He played great today. But looking at this game, I watched it and it drove me crazy because I actually bet against it and took a lot of Seattle in my DFS, and it destroyed me today. But looking back now, where Murray's finishing up pretty much an entire full season, was for Arizona and for him, was Murray the right pick for number one? Was that the right choice for Arizona?
I gotta be honest, and I'm gonna eat crow here because I thought Kyler Murray was not going to be a very good NFL quarterback.
Me too.
And at this point, I'm wrong. Okay. I mean, it's 1 year, not even 1 year officially yet. But he's proven me wrong. They've won some games. Look at the game they won today. That game was in Seattle, mind you.
I know.
And they won it. And the other thing I took from this game, besides maybe I was wrong on my assessment with Kyler Murray, is on the other side, there's a one-man show over in Seattle. And this team, I'm going to say it, they're not very long in the playoffs. Seattle is not a Super Bowl contender. I can see them losing in the first round. They're not going to the NFC Championship game. And so now, to me, the spotlight's, everyone on the show that's we've had come on or make comments has buried them and called them pretenders. But this is, to me, the Niners and Vikings out of the NFC. One of those two teams, in my mind, will be in the Super Bowl. I don't.
49ers or Vikings?
That's it. It's not going to be Seattle. It's not going to be the Eagles. And it's not going to be Green Bay. And so I think it's going to be the 49ers or the Vikings. I could see that very well being the NFC Championship game in itself. And I just think these other teams, the Packers, the Seahawks, the Eagles, have too many deficiencies, even for playoff teams, to win 2 or 3 games necessary against the competition they're going to go up against to get to the Super Bowl. Here you have a Seahawks team at home where they traditionally play well, get beat today. And the game, frankly, wasn't even that close.
No, the game was never close. That game, I mean, Seattle started out okay, and then Arizona absolutely beat the shit out of them. I was watching it, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And I have to agree with you. Seattle was a team that I was actually pretty high on and that I liked quite a bit coming into this game. But they had a lot to play for in this game that mattered, and that's home field in the playoffs. They had stuff to play for. They needed this game. And even with the New Orleans win, they still needed it for other seeding purposes. And I thought that their effort was really pathetic. And like you said, it really is a one-man show out there. I thought, like we said on Thursday, this would be a game where Wilson kind of put his mark if he was going to have that, like we said on Thursday, kind of show people why he was in the MVP conversation halfway through the year. But this was a total disgrace of a game if I'm Seattle. If I'm a Seattle fan, I have absolutely no faith that we're going anywhere in the playoffs. And going into this game, I actually had quite a bit of it. I thought they were one of the couple of teams that could actually win. But when you look at the AFC and the NFC now, with the playoff pictures becoming as clear as they are, I know there's a couple of teams they can do some switching around, and we're still figuring out some seedings. But for the most part, the playoffs are pretty much set. Who are your favorites in the AFC and the NFC this year?
Well, I gave you the NFC. I think it's San Fran and Minnesota is going to be the rep.
Not New Orleans. You don't think they
New
got?
Orleans, New Orleans has to be at home. They
Yeah,
are a completely different team
yeah,
on the road. They showed that today. They almost lost today. And I think they put up a stat today. There's something like 16-32 on the road in the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years or whatever that equates to.
yeah.
And they made they alluded to it that New Orleans is a completely different football squad when they're not in that dome stadium on that
Right.
turf.
Yeah.
So I think New Orleans is probably that third team. You know what I mean? If I'm ranking
Yeah.
San Fran and Minnesota 1 and 2, I'm going to put New Orleans 3, and it's based on where their game's going to be held at. Truthfully,
Right.
can they beat Minnesota and San Fran and New Orleans in this, in the Superdome or whatever they
Yeah.
call it?
Yeah.
But I don't know if they beat them other places. They're a different team on the road. And I think that's why I think the Eagles and the Seahawks are looking at potentially being one and done.
Yeah.
And you asked me with the AFC, I think, man,
It's
I
hard.
think obviously the Ravens are the class right now of the AFC. Kansas City is playing better. Mahomes looks like he's getting healthier each
Yeah.
week.
Yeah. He
And
looks
I
good
hate
tonight.
and I hate to bury them, but I don't see how the New England can match up with those two teams and outscore them with
Yep.
that offense. Their defense is one of the best in the leagues. They're going to have to for New England to beat a Baltimore, Kansas City. Baltimore, Kansas City, going to have to turn the ball over 2 or 3
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Not
And
that that
I
can't happen.
don't see it happening. It
No,
can happen. I don't see it happening. I'm right there with you. I don't like. I've been saying for weeks on this show. I do not like New England, especially if they get
yeah.
down. If you give them
And
home field, I think they're in almost every game to start off. You put them on the road. I really don't like this team.
I hate saying it, Drew, because every year I've done it, it's like it's like a reverse jinx. It's like I say it,
Yeah.
and it's like a movie script. Like, oh, you just guaranteed they win now, John. Thanks a lot. So
Right.
I don't want to officially say it, but
Right.
I don't see any way that they get through the scoring prowesses of Kansas City and Baltimore. And they can't. If they get in a shootout with those teams, they're offensively they're not there this year. So if it becomes that game, they're going to be done. If it's they can take time off the clock, grind it out, use the running game and a short passing game to make it a time of possession game, and then the Kansas Cities or the Baltimores gack the ball off, or throw a pick. Then it gets interesting. And it just always seems, here's the crazy thing though. It just always seems like in the postseason, that's what happens. Like teams gack the game away to the Patriots. Look at how many times, other than the 2 Giants games. I mean, look, Atlanta has a 28-3 lead. They gave it away. The other game, the Eagles, the one year had them, couldn't put them away. Last year, the Eagles did it, but it always seems like teams play their worst game in the postseason when they're playing the pay. It's uncanny. It's uncanny. So I don't want to get the shovel out and start throwing too much dirt on them. But as a football fan, as someone who's watched the game for many, many moons, I don't see this lineup being able to go toe to toe. You look at it like a boxing match. They just can't match the firepower and the lefts and rights that they're going to get hit with. And so they're going to need mistakes made by that Kansas City or Baltimore team, whoever they get. And I think that's who it really is. Whether Pittsburgh, listen, I love them. They're my team. But Pittsburgh gets in, they're playing one game. They'll probably get, if they sneak in next week, they're going to get Kansas City the first game. They're going to get run out of the gym. It's the if this was NCAA basketball, this would be the 16-1 game where you just hope for just a rainbow prayer shot or something, or Mahomes goes down real early and they never get in sync, and we win some crazy, ugly.
He's having a hell of a game tonight. Mahomes is having a hell of a game tonight. They're dominating the Bears right now. But all right, man. Well, before we move on to a little revamped version of an old segment, it's time for one of our fun segments and one that I love. And of course, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And that is the shit whip of the week. And you said you didn't know of one this week, or one that didn't really come right to mind. Well, I found one that I liked, and I thought, for one, I think the hit's total bullshit, as you can see right here. The hit's a complete and total joke, but it's pretty fucking rough. It's in the Titans-Saints game. And this is the one that knocked the dude unconscious. I don't know if you've seen it, but It's a shoulder to helmet, straight up knocked him. I mean, the dude,
he's out right there.
Oh no, he's out. And they did not throw a flag. They called it was a fumble. They gave it a fumble. They did not throw a flag. He was absolutely destroyed. I'll show it one more time to you. I cut it off where he was laying down. I didn't really want to put him on there hurt here, but you could take a look. I mean, he comes straight across the middle. How they don't call this is beyond me. It's clearly shouldered directly into his helmet, just going right after him. But I don't know how you can't stop that from not being a fumble. But yeah, he's out, definitely hands in the air right there. So if there's your shit whip of the week in the Saints game, probably getting fined for that one too.
Yeah, I was about to say, Drew, they might not get the yellow flag, but they're definitely going to get the green one, like pay us.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
that one definitely worthy. Hey, it's the first one. It's the rare shit whip of the week by an actual defensive.
I know. Well, it's about time they're stepping their fucking game up. I mean, the only other thing I could find, like I said, was Vernon Butler punching Jack Doyle in the Colts game, but like I can't stand it. When football players punch somebody with their fucking helmets on, it drives me crazy.
Yeah,
I can't stand it. Like it's okay if you're just gonna like slap him like that, but not like take a legit like swing at. What are you doing? Like his helmet's on. All you're gonna do is break your freaking hand.
It's just all for show. No one's gonna get hurt, except maybe your hand. And
the hands that you do for a fucking living. But anyway, time now I'll let you go on and introduce it. We used to do stock up, stock down on Roughing the Passer, but we're gonna switch it up, John.
Yeah, I just thought, traditionally, I mean, everyone's seen it. You watch enough football, they go into the locker room after the game, and the head coach and the winning head coach is all fired up and gives a little rah-rah speech, and he's got a ball in his hand, and then he in turn gives the game ball to one of his guys, and
I don't have to give a rah-rah speech, do I?
Yes, said no, but he says why, and then he hands the ball off. So I thought, man, that's pretty cool. I've done it myself as a head coach, not obviously on the NFL level, and everyone knows what a game ball is, and so instead of calling it's the same premise, just a little terminology. I just said let's call it game balls. And I try to give out 3 of them each week. And then on the other side, the not so hot side, we GOAT has two denominations to it, right? Could be GOAT with the periods after each letter, meaning the greatest of all time.
We're talking about.
But no, not in our case here on Roughing the Passer. GOAT in our case means you're the GOAT of the game. You did not play well. You made a bonehead play, maybe to cost your team a game. And I also thought by calling it GOAT, we don't necessarily have to pick someone that had like a bad game. We can just pick someone who blew the game on one play. Yeah. We can give it to a coach or coordinator who was absolutely terrible.
All right, well, start us off. Start us off with some of your picks this week for game balls and goats.
So for my 3 game ball guys, I went with the guys really stepping this game up and becoming Lamar Jackson's kind of go-to guys, not a wide receiver. He's a tight end, and that's Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
And And so if they get tight end play, they're even more of a tougher team to beat. I think the next guy I'm giving a game ball to is arguably now the best wide receiver in the NFL. Had a big day today and having a crazy year. Michael Thomas from the Saints. And my third game ball, I'm going to give it to a guy he's probably my favorite non-Steeler. I've talked about him on the show every other week. Usually not good this year, but today he had a huge day. I think he's saying, "Hey, don't give up on me just yet, even though my team sucks." That's Saquon, 180 yards rushing and 90 more in the air receiving for almost 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he's still one of the best players in the NFL. He's just in a really bad situation with a bad O-line and some bad coaches on the sideline. And
I agree with you there. I actually like all those picks a lot.
Yeah.
The Saquon one especially. I thought he looked amazing today and everything that I saw. He, like you said, he's in such a terrible situation there. I think New York, I think the Giants are, sorry, Giant fans, if you're watching, but I think you're in the middle of what's going to be a rough and a very long time down there. And I think Saquon's going to ultimately leave as soon as he can, unless they try and handcuff him to the point where he has to do what these running backs have been doing lately, even though Bell kind of fucked that market up for him even worse. I mean, he did. Everything that he did was for naught and really screwed over a lot of guys that would like to do it in the future. But I think Saquon ultimately leaves New York. It's in a no-win situation, but he looked amazing. Michael Thomas, excellent pick, dude, just set the NFL catch record that even with these insane offenses, no one had done it yet or really come that close. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, so I like all of those. So for my 3 game balls this week, I went first with one of your guys, even though he got hurt. I loved what I saw before he did, and that's Dwayne Haskins. Loved it. I thought he looked great. I think it was 11 for 15. He was really starting to look strong. Best he'd seen. I thought, had he not gone down, I thought we were about to see a real fun game between 2 rookie quarterbacks. I hated to see him go. My second one's the only bright spot in my Panthers all year. That's Christian McCaffrey, breaking the record that he set last year for catches by a running back, probably going to 1,000 this year, like I thought. Dude's just absolutely phenomenal. And my third one, I wanted to take somebody from the Ravens, and I looked at everything there, and I kind of came to the conclusion that I had to take something more, and that was I had to take their entire coaching staff. Because it really goes all the way back to last year when they actually made the switch from Flacco to Lamar Jackson. What they were able to do from last year until now to be able to take the offense from being built and geared around Flacco to putting it into Lamar Jackson and not really losing a beat, letting him learn, letting him go. Then in the offseason, getting the small pieces around him that would really complement his game. Obviously, a lot goes to him as well, but the Ravens coaching staff this year, I think a lot gets overlooked because he's having such a great season. But the job they've done, if they can keep it together, which I think is going to be tough because every time you start to win, your coaches end up leaving. If they can keep this together, I think they have something very special here, and I think it goes a lot farther than just this year.
Yeah, I want to give you hit that one right out of the park, and I'm going to give specific credit to one of those coaches, and it's not Harbaugh. I'm not saying he's doing a bad job, but it's Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator from the Ravens, and you hit it right on the head. He saw what he had in Lamar, and that's the thing with coordinators. Sometimes they're stubborn and they're like, "I call the shots.
Exactly.
This is my offense. You run it like I draw it up." Well, Greg Roman didn't do that. Greg Roman said, "Listen, I got a Cadillac in the garage.
Yeah.
I'm going to have him drive it like he wants to.
Yeah.
And I'll just add to the I'll put some fuzzy dice in here. I'll put some nice steel tip tire hubcaps on here, and he's played it to Lamar's strengths.
Yeah.
He's made Lamar from one year to the next. People question whether Lamar's a wide receiver to Lamar's an MVP quarterback. And like you said, Lamar definitely gets a lot of that credit, but so does Greg Roman. Roman took what he had in Lamar and just drew up the perfect playbook for the guy he has calling under center. And it was the perfect storm. And that hurts to say as a Steeler fan, but I have to be honest, and that's where they're at right now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. All right, well, we gave our game balls out, so now it's time to go to our GOATs. So who you got for GOATs this week, buddy?
I got, again, 3 of them. Let's go with the big game of the week. It basically was for the division title. I'm actually got 4 guys because I'm gonna put 2 guys on the one line right here.
Good, because I got 1.
Yeah, so, both from the Cowboys. Amari Cooper, 4 catches for 24 yards. This is your number 1 receiver. You come into a big game, and he didn't perform well. And then Zeke didn't have a Zeke game. I mean, you could give credit, obviously, to the Eagles' defense, but big players step up in big games. And Dallas's 2 biggest weapons besides Dak did not help Dak out. And they put 9 points up. That was it. They didn't even crack double digits in a must-win game. A game where here your head coach is sort of off the hot seat, and then you threw him right back into the campfire again. So both of those guys get 1. Melvin Gordon, this guy wants to get paid. Why?
Jesus.
4 carries, 11 yards. I could do that. Give me the contract.
And it was against Oakland. This wasn't even a good team.
And in the same game, Austin Eckler, again, 9 catches, 78 yards. Who's playing for the contract? Who's not going to be on the roster next year? It's crazy. Melvin Gordon was better up not coming back. He might have got paid. He comes back. He was terrible. That was a bad decision to come back. So Melvin Gordon gets GOAT number 2. And a guy didn't play today, and he was actually starting to play better. He played yesterday, Saturday, and again, he must have took his contacts out because he's colorblind again. Jameis Winston, 4 picks. Like, he played good the last 2 weeks. A lot of people say, well, maybe he's turning the quarter. He's getting Bruce Arians' system. And not so, as Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friend. Right? Not so fast. Jameis Winston, this just in, Jameis Winston is still Jameis Winston.
Yeah, you got that right. I tried to tell you. I knew it was still happening. I know this guy. He's absolutely terrible. I agree with you. I can't wait till everyone else can see this. And he can stay in Tampa as long as he wants because there'll never be a threat as long as he's there. And that's fine for me and my Panther fandom. So I'm cool with it. But yeah, he's absolutely terrible. I agree with the Gordon pick as well. I like all 3 of them. And we'll stick with that game for my GOAT this week. And I have to vent on this bullshit because all season long I've been giving this team chance after chance after chance after chance after chance. So I guess I'll just give all 3 of them to the Texans coaching staff, to Deshaun Watson, and then pick a 3rd fucking Texan and give it to them. Jesus, this team is the most frustrating team in the world to watch. You've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with that god-awful quarterback, without Mike Evans and without Chris Godwin. And you let them, A, put up that many points, and B, you can only win by 3. Like, that game was in serious question if they were even going to win that game. And it is a complete joke.
And that's with the Winston 4 picks.
Exactly.
They
were tied at halftime. They were tied at halftime with a fucking blocked field goal. I was watching this in the airport. It was a blocked field goal, a couple of interceptions, and they're tied at halftime. I'm like, what are you guys doing? You don't have I think it was 54% of their passing offense is Godwin and Evans, and they're out of the game, not playing at all. And you can't do anything against that defense, or you can't stop Jameis Winston. 4 interceptions isn't enough. Like, you need more than that to beat them by 3 freaking points. Yeah. This is a team where I don't know if it's just Watson's hit a ceiling or if it's the coaching, which I have a feeling a lot of it might have to do with some coaching staff. But this is a team that I don't know. Maybe it's because I've given them so many chances this year. They are so frustrating. It drives me crazy. So just give 3 game balls to any Texan you want.
You know who they remind me about, Drew? The more I heard you explain that and listen to you, it kind of just clicked. And they play in the same state. They're not much different than the Cowboys.
No, they're not. They're not.
They got talent on the roster. They lose to teams they shouldn't lose to, like the Jets. Yeah. And then they play every once in a while. They play that game like, holy crap, they beat that team. They shouldn't have beat that team. So they're so inconsistent all over the board. And while I do like the Texans coaching staff better than the Cowboys, I don't think they're that far ahead. And so you're right. I think they got some coaching issues. To me, if the Texans are the Cowboys of the AFC, or you could say the Cowboys, or you could say the Cowboys are the Texans of the NFC. Yeah. However way you want to go, but they should just play each other on the last week, and the winner gets in, and the loser doesn't even get into playoff.
It's a joke, man. I've given them way too many chances. They just pissed me off also because they pushed the bet this week I had because, of course, they were 3-point favorites. So, I mean, dude, they've driven me so crazy this season, and I've given them so many chances. It almost feels like I'm a fan, but I'm not. But I've got so much invested, it seems like, in watching this team. They just drive me nuts, and I'm trying to figure out what the problem is there, but I don't know what it is. And I'm going to be real interested to see what happens because I think they actually have a real good – I thought they had a real good team there, and I think they have the pieces around them. They might only be a piece or two away if Deshaun Watson is going to continue to improve and get more consistent because you nailed it. He's so wildly inconsistent, not even from week to week, from half to half. Like, he just goes on from on to off so fast. I don't know. He worries me. And after a season of giving this team chance after chance, I finally learned my lesson, and I will no longer be betting on the Texans to ever do anything again. But I'm done with the Texans altogether.
Yeah, they're on my do not touch when it comes to betting list. They're just too volatile. You just don't know what's going on there. Bill O'Brien's the head coach. He's the GM. The rumor is he actually got the GM prior fired, and they don't have an official new one. It's sort of a power play going on there. And it almost sounds like Bill O'Brien's worried about more off the field than the stuff he's on the field. So I don't know what ownership does. They got some choices and decisions to make. I don't think he gets fired. I don't think he's on that fired list, but I think he gets one more year to get some more consistency. But if it's really what it is now, he's probably got one more year, and he's on someone else's sideline in a couple of years.
No, I completely agree with you there. I think they're really running out of time, and they've got to do something because you've got Watson on that rookie contract, dude. I mean, all the pieces are there. They just can't put it together. I don't get it at all.
You got one of the best receivers in the game in DeAndre Hopkins. Will Fuller's a pretty solid number 2. Yeah. You probably, backfield wise, they need more of a number 1 guy. They got Donta Foreman and Carlos Hyde's actually played well. But I don't know if they've got their back of the future yet. And defensively, I'll stick up for Bill O'Brien. They've had some injuries. J.J. Watt gets hurt again, and He's starting to look like a guy that's going to not play full seasons anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think they got to go defense heavy in this upcoming draft and rebuild on that side of the ball because they're losing these like 38-35 type games.
Yeah.
So they're scoring points. You know, like you said, they almost lost this game against the Bucs, and they can really thank Winston's 4 picks for actually winning the game. Yeah. Otherwise, they would have lost. So they need defensive. They need to get younger on the defensive side. And, they got rid of Clowney, who might have been, let's be honest, their best player. Yeah. But they just didn't want to pay him. So they got rid of him. Whether he wasn't a good clubhouse guy, I don't know the deal. Everything I read is they didn't want to pay Watt and him both. Yeah. But, J.J. Watt's a great human being who does great things for the community. But as a football player, he's having trouble staying on the field. So, I know this hurts for probably a Texans fan to hear, but at some point you got to make a business decision. How much do we pay this guy to not play and then lock up that money where we can't go out and get somebody else, or we have to trade a Clowney to Seattle for basically 2 hot dogs and a bag of peanuts. So, and that's really what they got for him.
I know. So, they seem like their game plan for their offseason is almost like their games, just so wildly inconsistent. One move makes sense, 2 don't. One move makes sense, 2 don't. I don't get what they're doing, and all I can say is just like the screen says, no more bets on the Texans. I'm done. It's not happening. No.
And you know why they got nothing for Clowney from Seattle? Because they don't have a real GM.
Yeah,
so they
exactly.
get fleeced. It's like going into a gunfight with a knife. You're gonna get you got taken out back and shown that you don't have a real GM. We'll just get Clowney off you for song and a dance. Thank you very much. So what they need to do, if I'm the Texans, they really got to take a hard look at Bill O'Brien. I don't think he gets fired, but I think you just say, listen, you're not the GM here. We're going to hire a real GM. Right. He's going to have the power. If you don't like it, you can leave. Right. But we want you to be our head coach at least for the next year. But that's up to you. But we're hiring a real GM who we're going to give the GM hat to, and he's going to wear it and make the calls, and you're going to be the head coach if you so choose to remain in the position. And this draft is going to be 80% defensive picks.
Yeah.
And that's what you got. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's like I said, that was probably the most frustrating thing this week for me. It was just watching those picks and knowing everything that was going on. It just drives me crazy. And the Texans are just an absolute mess. But anyway, John, that's gonna do it for the Week 16 show, my friend. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching tonight. And as the screen says on the bottom, we've got our picks and preview show this Thursday, where we'll give the rundown on this week's picks once they're over. I think I'm catching on you a little bit this week. I still got a game to go tomorrow.
The Buffalo didn't help my cause. I lost. I lost both of those picks. The over under and the spread. They really just came out in the second half and just tried to run the clock out, and there was just too much clock left. We could talk about this for another 20 minutes. We just propped up the Ravens for great offensive play calling and playbook.
Buffalo. We don't have anywhere to go. We didn't talk about this game much. It happened on Saturday, Buffalo and New England. Let's talk about it. I forgot you had 2 of the picks in that game.
Buffalo had them. I watched this.
They did. I know. So did I.
They had them, and it's like they let off the gas. They went into the run on first down, run on second down. Let's run the clock out. New England's defense stopped them 1 yard, no gain. So here you go, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. They couldn't convert. They give the ball back to New England, and that blew up in their face. Yeah. And then the other thing they did in crunch time, once New England took over the lead, Buffalo became one-dimensional. It became Josh Allen is our running back.
Yes.
They had him running and scrambling. They didn't use anyone else. John Brown, who I don't view him as a number one back.
He's a number
receiver.
2. He's a 2.
But I tell you what, he's playing well.
Yeah.
But they didn't throw it to him anymore. They forgot about him, and it became the Josh Allen show, which there's worse shows. Don't get me wrong, but what is Bill Belichick?
Also better shows.
Yeah, what is Bill Belichick famous for, Drew?
Yeah,
taking your best player,
and
neutralizing him.
Yeah.
Well, guess who he picked? Mm-hmm. He picked Josh Allen.
Josh Allen.
And
that's all I needed to pick.
Yeah. He said Josh Allen's not going to beat us today. No. And I forget who the offensive coordinator is for Buffalo. I know who it is, and the name is escaping me. But he played right into Belichick's game plan. He made Josh Allen the center point when the defense was shadowing him. He got exposed. He got sacked. I don't know how many times, or even other times where he ran out of the pocket. He was basically stuffed for no gain. The other thing he did, Josh Allen took some shots in the second half because he was running like a running back. And once you're out of that pocket, Josh Allen better learn to slide, or Buffalo better get a better backup than Matt Barkley, because
they're going to be using him a lot.
They're going to be in the same situation the Steelers are this year, because Matt Barkley ain't much better than Devlin Hodges and too soft Mason Rudolph, who at this point, you look at him, you stare at him now, he gets hurt. So that's a whole nother show for another day. But Buffalo, I still like them. And but if they do what they did yesterday to teams' game plans, they're going to be in and out of the playoffs, kind of fan. And they're a team that can make some noise. They can make some noise.
I think they've got all the potential in the world. I think Buffalo is right there on the edge, but I'm kind of curious. I do not like a lot. I'll be honest, there's a lot of people in Buffalo, both from their front office and player personnel, that were in Carolina, especially in their coaching department. So I don't like a lot of the guys. I like some of them, but there's a lot that I am very familiar with and don't like a lot. Buffalo has a lot of great pieces right now, and I think they're a piece or two away from being incredibly good in the AFC. I'm wondering if it's not the coaching around them that's the problem there. And I think Josh Allen is more than, like you said, Josh Allen needs to learn to slide, or he is not going to have that long of a career. He cannot turn any game like he did into Sunday. I don't know what Buffalo was doing. They had this game. They could have won this game.
They took their foot off the gas, Drew.
Yeah.
They thought they could just run the ball with Singletary and Allen, run the clock out. That didn't work because if you watch the tape, there were, I would say, 2 out of 3 plays. Look at what New England was aligned in. They had 8 to 10 guys up front. They had no safety back. They had no linebackers. There was 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 formations I saw where they just cleared out the linebackers. There was no second level. They literally had like 10 guys, 9 guys up front. And they were just overloading. They were just overloading blitzes. And obviously, Buffalo don't have that much on the line. People are going to break through. But when you see that, you've got to have an audible in there to get someone to go right where those linebackers were, that they ain't there no more. Catch a 3-4 yard pass, beat no safety, and take it to the house. And and they just, Buffalo didn't react, didn't adjust, and they gave the game up. And that's why I'm still not sold on New England, because I think Buffalo didn't make adjustments. I think Buffalo lost that game just as much as New England won that game.
Absolutely. I think
And
both of those teams were trying to give that game away, and it was just Buffalo did it worse.
yeah, and so that's why I think it's. You asked me this before. I think it's two teams on each of these conferences. I think it's Baltimore and Kansas City, and I think it's Minnesota and San Francisco. I think these other teams have some other question marks that are going to knock them out of the playoffs to somebody. And I just don't. When I say those two teams, I just think I don't see any other team in the Super Bowl. Those four teams, to me, will be two of them. Two of the four will be in the Super Bowl. And
I like those, and it's hard to argue. With like you just said, looking at the playoffs now, it's becoming very clear. And there were so many. It'll tell you how important these games were this week. We talked about all these games. We didn't get to the Rams game yet. We didn't get. I mean, there were so many games that meant so much to a lot of people. But like you said, there's holes with every single team except for a few. And I, like you in the AFC, I don't see how it's anybody but Baltimore or Kansas City. In the NFC, I might give New Orleans a little more stock just because they did lock up that 2 seed. But the game that they will have to play in San Francisco to get there would be the game that concerns me the most.
Yeah, they have. To me, they're a favorite at home. If they go on the road, it's a little more dicey. Can they win on the road? Sure. Anytime you got Drew Brees and the best receiver in the game and Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara is no slouch himself. They got weapons. Their defense makes me a little pause for concern. Sometimes they look good. Sometimes they give up 30 points.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be wild play. I think it's going to be some wild playoff games. But I think the cream is – I think this week you see some of that cream kind of rising to the top, getting ready for a long postseason run. And I think it's those four teams. And I'm going to stick with them.
Nice. Well, guys, just like I was saying just a little earlier, we will be back this Thursday, as always, at 10 p.m. to catch up on those picks. I know I've got at least the game tomorrow night, the Packers and Vikings. I've got that game on the line. So hopefully I'm able to come back in week 17. Hopefully before the playoffs start, you aren't too far ahead of me, that I can still realistically catch up in the playoffs.
Well, we'll do it in the playoffs too. And we'll reset everything and we'll be 0-0 and we'll do the playoffs. And when we do the playoffs, we'll do it with the spread. I know a lot of times other broadcasts or whatnot just pick winners, but that's no fun. Let's incorporate the spread, because if we just did winners in the playoffs, I'm pretty confident we'd probably both fare pretty well. But when you factor in the spread, it just adds another layer, another degree of difficulty.
Not doing the spreads just a cop out. Not doing the spreads an absolute cop out. We're doing the spreads because anybody I know watching this is calling a book, he's using a spread, so we're using a spread.
One thing I guarantee on the Thursday show, neither me nor Drew will be picking the Texans game.
Yes. No. Just one more time for anyone that missed it earlier. No more bets on the Texans. I've learned my fucking lesson. I'm done. Damn them. I swear to God. They're responsible for this entire deficit that I have to you. It's the Texans. Because I've lost every single damn one of them.
And so my lock of the week came through, and the Falcons over the Jags, and there's does Dan Quinn come back? Does I will say this, Drew, and I think you'll agree. This offseason, when it gets started, when the Super Bowl's over, is going to be probably one of the most interesting off seasons ever.
Active, very active.
Yeah, between coaches getting fired, assistants getting head coaching jobs, quarterbacks changing addresses, losing jobs.
Starting quarterbacks. Lots of starting quarterbacks on the move.
The offseason is going to be almost as interesting as the in-season stuff. And so I'm looking, not that I want this season necessarily to be over, but I'm sort of I usually don't look to the offseason that much. I'm really curious to see some of these things that do happen and what happens.
Yeah, well, one thing's for sure, we'll be covering it all off season.
Oh
So
yeah.
we don't stop with the Super Bowl here on Roughing the Passer. But guys, we will talk to you Thursday at 10 p.m. for our Week 17 picks preview show. Finish up watching the Chiefs beat the shit out of the Bears and enjoy the Packers and Vikings game. And everyone have a Merry Christmas. John, Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Yes, Merry Christmas to everybody out there as well. And you and Jude, enjoy the holiday.
Absolutely. Well, guys, as always, thanks so much for joining, and we will see you next week.